There we go. We are live for another Sunday, Paul. Sun comes round.
Yes, been a busy week, Les, and I'm sure it has for everybody else as well. But here we are. No doubt we'll be saying we are live for Thursday. It doesn't seem to take 5 minutes, does it? But
No. And
great to
talking
see
about,
everybody.
yeah, I'll just talk about Thursday. We've got some good feedback from Thursday, Paul, and some great comments. And yeah, it went very well with Jim Segala.
He were great, weren't he? I mean, people in chat will be as good a judge of that as me and you. But I thought he were really good, and I loved. And please, let's have some questions in capitals for us tonight, because that's what it's all about. It's about interacting with you guys. But I loved the way that he's designed or got this theory to sort of capitalize on people's experiences. So if you're using this equipment, some people can say it's just a gimmick, but I don't know. He's coming at it with a scientific approach, and if you've got this equipment installed and you have some kind of experience, and when you send data in, it's showing up. It's not telling us what it is, but it's giving us a good indication that something's happening in it. It's great.
Yeah, and from Thursday's stream, when he showed the limited charts that he had, and you saw them spikes, at the appropriate times, that was really, really interesting.
Well, yeah, some of the things that have happened to us, and I'm sure it's everybody else. If you'd have had something that could detect it, I mean, no doubt somebody will simplify it, and we'll be able to get something that we can download on a phone app that monitors strange things eventually. In fact, there'll be somebody on it now probably, or thinking about that kind of thing. But if they haven't,
don't that go back to kind of I think it was discussed in Thursday's stream, where one of the streams we did, the use of these apps on phones where the pre-program the app store that were certain words. Especially, I'm talking about the voice box.
Yeah, that were the ghosty type ones, weren't it?
Type ones, yeah. So I think you've got to be careful with the apps.
Well, yeah, but there'll still be people doing it and believing in it. The ghost ones, I think, are a little bit. I don't know. They're throwing out words all the time, aren't they? A few people have had them on cliff tops and various places, and they put it on, and it's throwing out loads of words, and it might say something random, and you're then trying to fit something or someone to that word.
Yeah, and trying to put a story around it, are you?
Yeah, it's probably wrong way to go about it, but So
Alison's doing the chat tonight, as you probably know, guys, and I'll let you go through.
They go fairly quick, and I can only see a few, but I see Rebecca King. I know Rev's in, Linny's in, Mrs. Linny, Fred Flintstone, Simon Riley, Annie French, Sober Carper. And that puts all sorts of things in your mind, that, mate. If you sat on Riverside, just make sure that you're not too close to edge. Jessica's in, Diane Farrell, Blue Shift. It's good to see you, mate. Martin Abbas. Spoke to Martin earlier today. And Jay Austin. I'm in for once, Paul. Good to see you, Jay. And
welcome, Jay. Welcome.
Yeah. Saw him at conference last week. That went well. So we all had a great time there, didn't we? And look forward to the next one, really. When is it? August?
Yeah, August. You're booked in to be on the speaker list, Paul.
That's right, yeah. And the theme of that conference is events of high strangeness. Sorry, locations of high strangeness. And the talk that I did last week, it would have fitted in. Because I'll be talking, you'll be getting much the same, but it'll be different stuff, but much the same. So, what's been happening then, Les? What's your thought?
I've been trolling about the internet, as you do, Paul, and staying on the very subject that we talk about mostly every week, about the disclosure program. Then I thought an interesting article, and I'll put this on the screen now, came from the mainstream media, The Guardian, to be precise. And as you can see by the title, it only takes one to be real, and it changes humanity forever. What if we've been lied to about the UFOs? Now, what this article is going on to talk about is obviously the Grush and congressional hearings last year. And it also talks about the Disclosure Act, which they actually brought in and they got through the Congress. But what I found interesting in this is that the Disclosure Act, what they brought in, was significant SIG significantly watered down. So as it says there, I've highlighted in blue.
Yeah.
And so, but further down, and this sort of ties in with the guests we've had on the live streams, Paul. It brings mainstream physicists into the equation. And I'll put this link for you people to have a look in your own time. But let's have a look. Would we get a physicist in here? There we go. It's a physicist called John Priestland. So there we go. So, I mean, these people are well and truly on board. This is the point I'm trying to get to in this article. Now, this article, I think, is a very fair and balanced article coming from mainstream media. So, yeah, so we're still talking about it. But the big question, and we talked about it a little bit earlier, Paul, is are we going to do we need this full disclosure? And yeah, what's your opinion on that?
Well, have we already got it? Yeah. You know, to some degree, everybody in chat now, me, I don't know about you, Les, but Alison doing moderating, everybody else, that you're in here looking for answers to something that's probably happened in your life that's totally unexplainable. And I think if you can go bulk of your life without finding answers to it, then you've got your own small piece of disclosure. We know that you can never prove it. None of us can. That's the frustrating part of it. But do we need it? Do we need somebody in authority to tell us? Are we that schooled and sheepish that we need some government agency or some government body to tell us? I suppose it'd do to quell I don't know, the people who said that it's all a load of rubbish. But I mean, should we be listening to them people when we've had our own experiences? I think we all know what a satellite looks like and an aircraft in distance and things like that, or most people do, and we should do anyway. But when you've had something profound, if you're brave enough and you're going to turn around and say that you've seen these things, and you're either a complete lunatic. I don't mean you, Les. I mean myself. Anybody who's claiming that they've seen these beings, or delusional, or you've actually seen them. And without
going back to the article, I think some of the article touches on that, where in previous years people would been seen as some kind of psychotic, brain injury type of thing when they talked about them. But obviously now you can practically, talk about it to anybody, can't you?
Yeah. I mean, you didn't used to be able to talk about, and this in paranormal, really, the big cats. Well, I think everybody accepts they're here. But now you can talk about UFOs. People are openly accepting the idea that these things are here. These things are being seen in skies around us. And, when you've got aviation, you've got pilots, and you've got people in charge of warships, and all sorts of people, in important places claiming to have seen and experienced. I mean, look at Charles Holt. I mean, he got stick for years and years when he came out and wrote the Holt Memorandum at Rendlesham. And I know there'll be people in chat who'll know as much, if not more, about Rendlesham than me. But he stuck to his guns and he said what he saw. He didn't bend to authority. I mean, Colonel Charles Holt were tipped to, predicted to go much, much higher in ranks of the military than what he did. And that effectively put a cap on his career. Do you know? But he still stuck to his guns and claimed that he saw what he saw in that forest.
Yeah,
I spoke to him a few times and once at length about it, and never changed his story. And I know that there's a lot of people involved in Rendlesham that have got varying degrees. There's indifference with story, but it doesn't mean that they're all lying.
How long was he in the service after that sighting? Was it 1980?
He went.
How long was he in after that?
There might be somebody in chat that can tell me, but I believe he went and worked at Pentagon after that. Military.
Right. Yeah.
He's a really switched on guy. And when he came through to OLM conference, I don't know, 5 years ago, I met him twice, once at Rendlesham and once there. He was so on point, everything. But you would be, I suppose, you'd be versed in it if you've done that talk, and that's the talk that you do, kind of thing. But it varied from it, adamant. And then you got other people coming out, and it's almost insulting them, saying they've seen a lighthouse. I didn't think we'd be going to Rendlesham tonight, people, but let's have some questions, please, and just hit us with what you want.
Yeah, and how long after the event then, Paul? We talked about how long he might have been in the service after that, but how long after the event did the tape recordings actually come out? Because they came out a few years later, didn't they? They came out years later, yeah.
Yeah, but,
maybe somebody in the chat can put us right on that one, on dates and times. But I feel that information did come out a long time afterwards.
Yeah, it did. But I don't know how long afterwards. But it's fascinating, isn't it? And Brenda Butler can take a lot of credit for bringing not all of this out, but being involved in it. Anybody who doesn't remember or know Brenda Butler, we need to get Brenda on live stream. She wrote the book with Philip Kinsella, Sky Crash, years and years ago. And Brenda said some interesting things about periscopes going up on beach and things. And people, I once I didn't believe her, but they weren't too sure that they thought she might be embellishing truth, like surveillance periscopes going up on beach around Orford Ness and things. And then years and years ago, I spoke to a lighthouse keeper from Flamborough who went to do relief lighthouse keeping at Orford Ness, which is down there. And obviously didn't know anything about Rendlesham or got no interest in Rendlesham. And they used to get taken out on a boat at lighthouse, military personnel, left on lighthouse, 2 of them. He said, I were a proper keeper. It was before it became just some machine that were doing it. He called himself a proper lighthouse keeper. But they decided to have a walk round. And they walked around sort of area where lighthouse were on this little island.
Yeah.
And sure enough, there's a little periscope thing and they looked down it. And before they knew it, military around them, they dragged off, they warned. So maybe what Brenda was saying and people laughed, there were a little bit more truth to it. Not that it means there's UFOs involved, but it's fascinating nonetheless.
Right. I'm just going to put something on the screen now what Jay was talking about. I think the reason lies, and this is about the Grush thing, is the phenomena is way more complex and darker than all this love and light disclosure that Greer is pushing.
Absolutely, Jay. I think it is. And I know it. Go on, Les.
Interesting point, that one.
Yeah. I know it's nice because we should look on the positive wherever possible. But a lot of this isn't. It's not positive. I mean, they've changed narrative, haven't they? They've changed the name. We're not looking at ET anymore. Although, let's not rule it out. They could be coming from up there, or it could be part of it. But they're already here. Whatever it is we're dealing with, it's already here. Maybe it's in this sub-universe, this beneath the oceans of the world, or maybe it's, as some people would like to say, a portal or a vortex. Only words I know, but whatever it is, these things are already here. But the darker element, anything at all, Jay, that will take a child, a man, a woman from their safe environment in the depths of night is not doing it for the good of them, in my opinion, and then keeps it secret. They're not doing it openly. They're not saying we've got some problem and we can't be seen, we can't be exposed to daylight because it hurts our eyes. They're actually doing it in secret. They're not telling anybody what they're doing. And if they are, it's some elite power somewhere in the world, maybe, that know about it, because we're not privy to it, are we?
So don't forget, guys, this is your show. You just fire as many questions as you can into that chat, because we don't have a guest on a Sunday night, do we, Paul? But we hand it entirely over to you. So I'm going to put this on. I don't know if you can, how you're going to take this one, Paul, but I'm going to put it on there anyway.
Oh, the bestest.
There you go. You're the bestest. Yeah. That's,
well, I think we're all half decent, Nigel. But thanks, Nigel. Thank you. Yeah. We just do what we do, don't we? It's open to interpretation. I mean, some people like what I'm saying, some people won't. My version of proof's not going to be good enough for some, and it's going to be too much for other people. I noticed in chat we put a short on other day with Drew's encounter, Drew's experience, which were absolutely incredible. He blew me away when he told me about it, and I think he's in chat now, and I'm not just saying it for that. I never expected him to turn up in chat, which is great. And somebody put in chat, I think they said I talked a load of shite. I've left it on. I left it on. He said, good on you. Yeah, that's what you think. That's what you think. Yeah.
But right then, sorry to move on a little bit. Martin Abbott is Rendlesham and Bempton on the ley line. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know myself.
I don't know tons about ley lines, Martin, but it's possible. I mean, and I know you touched on ley lines today when we spoke. I don't know. I would imagine. I mean, I did this last week, but we talked about the Rudston monolith. So probably most people in Chettle have heard of that, the tallest standing stone in Great Britain. And I find it fascinating. Maybe not a ley line, but if you run a line through an ordnance survey, it passes through the burial mound, or very close to the burial mound of Willie Howe. I'm not talking half a mile or quarter of a mile away, very close. It goes on to Stakston Wold, where RAF base is, which used to be a Roman hill fort. And it's very close to Sharp Howe, the Barrow Cemetery. So it's strange how all of these locations of Neolithic man built those locations. Built them, but placed the burial mounds there, the tumuli. Yeah. And 3,500 years ago, they've got them in line, and they want to. How could they have had that kind of foresight to know? That's pretty fascinating, isn't it?
Is you might know this, Paul, or people in the chat might know. Is it an authoritative map of ley lines, Paul? Or
I think there is. I've never really studied it, and people will have sent it me. I know they have.
Right,
So fascinating, aren't they? Tracks of power that we can't see, allegedly. But then, go on then, let's have a look. Tell us about your meeting with Colonel Holt at Rendlesham. Well, it was a conference, Fred, and I went down there with Steve Ashbridge, and we camped in Derek Savory's back garden. There were loads. He were really gracious. He'd filled his... But he'd got a small flat at time, Derek. He'll not mind me saying, but what a generous bloke. He'd allowed everybody to just stay in his flat. It were carnage. So we put a tent in garden. Then we met Colonel Holt. We went into Forest, spent some time with Brenda Butler, who was a lovely woman I've just been talking about. I'd like to get Brenda on here. Truly would. And then I met him at Hull and, spent a bit more time with him at Hull. And I found him a really good person to be around. And then I exchanged quite a few emails with him because Colonel Holt, where he lives, don't ask me where it is in the US, but allegedly there's no Black Panthers. There's no big black cats in that area, but he's seen one. So he sent me the email detailing what he'd seen, and it were running. I think he said it were running alongside of his car. And it's all okay for me to talk about, by the way, because I did ask him. I said, because this is the guy who's blown the cover on the Rendlesham Forest incident. I said, are you okay? He says, yeah, I saw it. I've no problem with that. So, yeah, all good. I'm sorry, not that detailed, Fred.
Alex Thompson, evening, Paul and Les. Is there any aspects to this phenomena, or an event, a case, or a researcher in particular you would like to be discussed on the show soon?
I'd love to get Martin Groves on. I've said it for some time, or Ron Moorhead. I know they're the cryptid men, but there's loads of people, and this is your live stream. Yeah. If you are actually in correspondence with any researchers that you think our audience would like, and yourself, put them in touch with me or ask them. We've got a guy from Australia. I ain't got it in front of me, who's apparently been in the subject for 50 years, and they're talking to him for me. They only asked me a few days ago.
Yeah.
And it's not just about me.
And I think, even though we haven't formally asked him yet, but I think that Andrew Collins is on the shortlist, isn't he?
We'll get Andrew back on, because last time we had him on, I know audio weren't too good, so we'll see if we can get Andy on, because he's done some new explorations there, hasn't he? And Matt Empt who told us about the Youngstown Dogman, the werewolf thing that he saw. He's keen to come back on and do some more. We'll have Steve Stockton on in the next few weeks. I mean, Steve could literally talk all day about the strange experiences. But listen, it's your live stream, so you tell us who you want on, and we'll try. And if you're in touch with any of these people, do it for us.
Yes, and Martin Groves, I think I tried to reach out the other week, Paul, and he hasn't got back to us yet. So
I know he's not been very well, but we will. Josh Turner, we'll get Josh back on, and it don't have to be all cryptid. It don't have to be all UFO. Let's have some ghosty time. We had Andrew Ross on, the Ghost Whisperer. Let's have more of that. You know, I'm all for it. You know, let's just cover full spectrum.
You just fire a load of potential guest names at us, and we'll consider them, won't we, Paul?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, Enigma, am I right in thinking that the big cats witnessed are always black? Why?
No, they're not. To be honest with you, there's beige ones seen as well. I know at Grindle, which is, I don't know, about 6 miles away from here. I stopped and ended up talking to some farmers once who were bailing because I knew a cat had been seen in area, and they'd actually seen it, and they said it crossed the road, and they'd seen a big cat, but that were beige. So not always black. I've been told on good authority that there's 2 breeding pairs up in Forester, North Yorkshire. I mean, there could be more. If there's 2 breeding pairs, there's got to be more cats, aren't there? Because you can't have a breeding pair. We have a litter of cats.
Yeah, and I think we're just talking about social media and stuff like that earlier. Is there a Discord server for Truth Proof? And if not, why not? From Roy Hudson. Rob Hudson, I should say. Yeah. No, there isn't. And we're pretty much, as Paul and I admit, we're pretty much dinosaurs at social media. So we're just limited to what we've got at the moment, but we aren't ruling anything out because...
I'm slow as out to this. I spoke to one of my granddaughters only other day who uses TikTok and Instagram and everything. Well, someone sat with phone practically glued to the faces. I says I'd like a bit of help with a few things, but because I'm poor at it.
Yeah, so we'll be looking at that. You've given me an idea actually, so I'll be looking into that for Truth Proof. And I'll put this one. Well, Jeremiah Abbott. Has anyone that has seen the Bempton lights, the ILFs, had any telepathic thoughts that you know of? Well, you're the man to answer that one.
I heard Jeremiah. He rhymed that, mate, didn't it? Yeah. And you know who this is, Les, don't you? We've met this guy at Hornsey.
Yes. Yep.
Well, no, but there's been some pretty... Once again, like Jay just brought up earlier, like when we're talking about the darker side of the subject, there's been some dark things happen up there. We know we're up there a lot in night, but it kind of gets to me that people go up there and they're stood with us and they're saying they feel like someone's telling them to jump. How macabre is that? That's not good, is it? We won't encourage anybody to have them thoughts, but telepathic thoughts. No, there were a situation probably about 3 months ago when there were myself and 2 other blokes up there, 2 other people, and I put a EMF meter, just raised it up in grass and left it there for ages. Looked like, I think I maybe talked about it. I might not have gone into detail. Excuse me. Looked like it were going to rain. So I thought, well, take this in. It had been there for about 20 minutes. As soon as I walked towards it, and it's not because my phone's going to activate it, we put the phones in the airplay mode and the thing goes off. I'm going to turn it off. It just activates. So we leave it for a moment. Right. Then other bloke who was with us says, don't you want us to turn you off? It did it again. So that weren't all of it. While we're there, and he knows what I'm going to say, this fella now, but while we're there, suddenly he says, can you see that? And there's me and Pete and somebody else. And I go, I'm looking down because he's looking at the floor. And he says he can see an orange glow all around the floor. Right. I can't see a thing. Pete can't see it. He's getting quite animated. Doesn't normally. Pretty bit unshakable, really, sort of solid kind of bloke, and really rattled him because we can't see it. So you'd think that'd be end of it. So, and he said it made him feel unnerved to the point where if this happened again, he's not coming no more. He'll consider not coming up anymore. It's really bothered him. Then we're looking in distance and there's an edge line. He starts crouching down. He says to Pete, can you see it? He's watching us. And Pete's looking, can't see out. And then Pete goes, yeah, I can see it. And there's a black shape like an egg. Huh. Seriously, it comes up above edge. I have a look. I can see it. Just comes up and goes down. Could it have been a man? Yeah, I suppose it could. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was very wet and sludgy. I went across field towards it, and then I found myself getting caked in sludge and then come back.
Yeah.
But that combined with this orange light, once again, this truth that leaves no proof. It were a weird situation. But telepathic thoughts, I don't know. When the military guys had their encounter on cliff tops on February 8th, 2019, they said they should have realised when they walked on cliffs that day or that night, because everything felt electric, air bristling at the back of the neck and everything. So maybe they are telltale signs that we should be looking for. But I've not had any kind of suggestive voices or anything like that. And Wilsthorpe, jump into Wilsthorpe then, because we're in zone, aren't we?
Yeah.
The old lady that saw the UFOs over the sea on September 15th, 2009, went into her porch, which looks directly onto the beach. Bottom of her garden, I've said it many times, you could throw a stone and you lit the sea. There's only like 16 flats there. There's nothing to right and nothing to left. It's just devoid. And she said, because she went outside into a porch to turn light off, but it were already off. It's a shared one with flat next door. Said, but it were illuminated. She says, but I thought, oh, it's off. Walked into the living room. She said, I'm just stepping into the living room, and a voice said, go back and have another look. Or go back and look again. I don't know exact word. She said, and I turned round, and then I went to the window and looked. She said, I couldn't believe it. There were a big circle of them over at sea. Not far out either. She said, it was just, there were blue and white boomerang-shaped objects that she said they were. And she shouted her husband. He come and looked. He was terrified. He stood, looked at them for a minute or two and went to bed, put his head under the pillow. She watched them for an hour. She said, I'd never seen out like it. And bearing in mind, this is where we talk about misidentification and people perhaps thinking, oh, let's have a look, is that a UFO or is it a satellite? This lady had lived there best part of 30 years. So they're used to seeing lots of things. When you went into their flat, because it's the flats, these in blocks of 4, built by MOD in 1935, they were. When you went in, they've got binoculars on window to look out to sea. Don't make them trained observers, but they're used to seeing all the normal things: the Sea King helicopter, boats out at sea. You get a bit of mist on the horizon, and you'll see lights behind mist, and it makes it look like it's a light floating, when in actual fact it's just not. It's a boat further back. So, so they knew what they were looking for, but these were different. But a suggestive voice, go back and have another look, which is fascinating, I think. And then the next day, the military came. They were all over the beach. 2 Chinook helicopters, Lynx helicopters, trucks, sectioned off the beach. Nobody could pass. And when I put freedom information request in, it were a top. They said that it was a secret military exercise. No explosives had been used. No live rounds had been used. Nobody heard any explosives. Nobody used any live rounds. So, it's probably a bog standard letter that they send out. But it was fascinating that they wanted to conduct a top secret military exercise in front of 16 flats when they'd got miles of beach to the left and miles to the right. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, they just chose there where that old lady.
And this was the following day, wasn't it? After the
following day, the following day. I was looking for, when I wrote first book, newspaper put this little article in saying I wanted stories, and this couple contacted me and told me about it, and so I'd pieced bits together, but they couldn't remember exact date. And then I were in archive looking through newspapers, and I thought I'd found a big cat report, because it says visitors, holidaymakers see lynx, or visitors to Bridlington see lynx. So I'm thinking, it's big cat, a lynx. When you read it, it's lynx helicopters that literally went up the beach, and that we'd actually then got the date, and then I went to lifeboat house and spoke to lifeboat men, and they told me that they'd no idea that military were coming or anything. Nobody had been forewarned. The yacht club, I use that word lightly because I don't mean it's not, it's catamarans, but they call it the yacht club. My son-in-law were actually working there on his catamaran when they arrived, and that's right next to flats. So when we call it the yacht club, there's nothing there but corrugated huts. There's nobody there on a night. It's just a compound where they keep catamarans. And it were out of season. It was September, but he were working on it. But the military moved them off. And but we didn't know. Date had not put all that together until I found that article that said holidaymakers see links or words to that effect. And I thought it were a big cat report. But no, 2009, it were absolutely prolific for UFO activity. I don't think from then to now, everything that I've looked into, I don't think anything were as active as what 2009 were. And I don't just mean Wilsthorpe, all the way through here, police officer sightings, all sorts of things. It were a great time if you were looking into unexplained. So,
yeah. Okay, then. So, see if I've got what's this one? Andy Decodes. When I went to Rendlesham last year, we're seeing 2 lots of 2 orange orbs at the actual UFO landing spot. Wow.
Yeah. Do we know where actual UFO landing spot were, Andy? I mean, I'm not saying that you weren't at it, but that it's kind of disputed, which is silly in a way when you think about it, because who's to say there weren't more than one? One object kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's strange how these orange orbs seem to figure in everything, don't they? Cryptid report, and people will say, "Oh, strange lights in forest as well. There's some strange spheres of lights in forest." Other people talk about seeing strange spheres of light. I don't know what they are or what the connection is to the other aspects of phenomena. I don't know, but it's there.
The sober car park. Paul, have you experienced the warm gusts of wind since on the cliff tops?
No, just the ones we Pete and Ian, and it were warm, and it were a cold night, which is, I don't know, I can't explain it. It weren't like, can you feel that? And the sort of thinking, oh, maybe I did. It were warm gusts of wind, and no, I just don't know how that were happening on a cold winter's night when it's blowing from north, and that's where it were blowing from, because we were looking towards Filey and Scarborough, and winds hitting us in face. So there you go.
Okay, right, we're back to Rendlesham there. Do you think there is still activity at Rendlesham, Paul?
Well, it's just thoughts, isn't it, Andy? I would imagine so. I would imagine like anywhere. I know we're talking about areas of high strangeness and where strange things happen. People claim to have seen cryptid type creatures at Rendlesham, big cats at Rendlesham, UFOs. But I bet there are locations close to some of you people in chat. It's just go into some archives that are local to you and start looking through some papers. I know this is Andy's question about Rendlesham. And I bet you find things. I bet you find information, and then what will happen is it'll like condense down to a specific area. Yeah. And like Rendlesham Forest, anyway, like you say, it's prolific for activity that's not normal.
Okay, so Ben22 is asking, Paul, do you think crop circles have anything to do with UFOs? We get so many down here in the West Country.
They could be, Ben. It's fascinating, providing it's not the ones that are faked. Somebody came up to me at conference, decent enough bloke like, and I can't think who introduced me to him, but he said he were a crop circle maker.
Yeah.
Or he had been. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, I believe some of them are genuine. I went to see one quite a few years ago out towards Rudston that I don't think anybody got to see. So I can't see point in just making something that nobody's going to get to see, Mm-hmm. And then if we can just briefly talk about something that might be worth looking into for people interested in crop circles. And that's the one at Wilsthorpe once again that appeared at the time of the Wilsthorpe incident. And the farmer who'd got a liver-coloured spaniel, that's how he described his dog to me, and an old combined harvester with no air conditioning. So obviously it gets very, very hot. And in bottom corner of his field, which were quite close to the road actually, near Wilsthorpe roundabout, a crop circle appeared overnight. Didn't know where it came from. Not elaborate, just a big circle. And he were ready to cut the crop. Spaniel sat down in footwell of this combine, And somebody can tell us how high a combine is off floor when you're sat in a Mac. I don't know. If Andy were in, he'd be able to tell us, wouldn't he? But because he works on farms all the time. But it's pretty high up. He said, and as soon as the head of the combine hit the crop circle, the dog sat up in the combine and started howling all the way through it. He said, and it took him about 4 or 5 passes, and every time it hit the crop circle, this dog began to howl. So once again, an example of animal perceiving something, but it makes me wonder if in the air above, not below, where you're walking around trying to perceive things, if there's some residue of something, I don't know. It's fascinating, isn't it?
And the field that the crop circle appeared in, is that where the wind farm is now? There's a wind farm just.
It's within sight of it. It's within sight of it. It's very close to lay-by, where there's usually a sandwich van, burgers and things.
Right.
It's very. It's right on the island at Wilsthorpe.
Yeah,
it's Little Field to right hand side.
Turbines on there now, actually, but
everything has a knock on, Les. Just before we go away from that, everything has a knock on. In November of same year, 2009, Carly, who I've interviewed and filmed, I think you've seen a bit of film.
Mm-hmm.
She was coming home with a work colleague, and she's driving down road, and there's that object at the other side in that same field, pacing car, and that's in the same field. These people don't know each other. No. It's strange, isn't it? So yeah, far away.
Yorkshire Grey 73. When are we getting Robbie on?
When are we getting Robbie on? Well, as you know, Gray, we've already done interview. Well, I think you will, and it were great. Me, Les sort of did his usual and introduced us, and then they were me, Rob, and Mick Park, who's been a long-standing friend of Robbie's for many, many years. And it was, to be honest with you, it was just like 3 friends talking. It were really good. So we'll be getting there. We'll be getting there into, I would have think next week or so. I ain't got a hard and fast date for it because, like Les has just pointed out to you earlier, when it comes to internet and pushing things, we're pretty much dinosaurs at this. But we will get there.
We're learning. So we're just waiting for a couple more permissions, aren't we? We're just waiting for that final nod, actually, and then we're gonna top and tail it and the program, and then we'll send it out. So,
like you've just said it, permissions. Obviously, with such an interview, it's not something that we can just decide we're going to put out and do what we do. Because I can see a question there from Drew Watson. We'll probably get to it, but I made sure I asked Drew. But it's different. If somebody asked me and somebody interviewed me and said, "Can I put it on?" and I say, "Yeah," they'll just put it on. But it's different with somebody like with Robbie, isn't it? We can't just put it out there as and when we think, but we will.
Okay. Ben 22. I'd like to see Chris Turner on.
Great idea. Yeah, I did speak to Chris. Yeah, we'll do that, Ben.
We reached out to him not so long back, but he was busy, wasn't he, Paul? He's a real busy lad. He's
oh yeah, he's always busy, but no doubt he'll make time. And I know Matt Emch. We're going to do a bit more with Matt, and I think his encounter was quite good. Oh, very good.
Robert Hilton saying, "Could you get Howard Hughes to come on the stream?"
I did ask Howard, and he said he would. So I'll have to follow that up. And I'm speaking with Howard. I have got a date for it, but I'll wait because he might want to put that out himself. But I will be in due course.
No. Tino is saying yes, more paranormal variety. Yep.
Yeah, why not, Tino? Yeah.
Have a look at that.
And let's just throw that out there as well. People in chat, if you've got an incredible encounter experience that you want to share, tell us about it. Come on. I'm all for that. We can do that on a Sunday. Yeah. It's all good.
Let's have a look. In Linford, Linny, Anna sent a question for Paul. It's not all love and light, as we have a friend who goes up to Bempton with us and he gets bad messages.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's right. And we kind of, we worry for him because he's his friend, as Linny's just said. And we're always mindful of him, and we're always very protective of him because of that, because I don't think it's something that that he does as a rule. He's not like that normally. And there's other people come up who I've not known, as in not got to know. I've only met them the once or the twice, and they're saying they're getting these weird thoughts, which is makes you wonder what's happening.
Jeremiah Abbott again. Are these things demonic? I'm not saying they are. I was just adding to the conversation.
Yeah, I think they could be. You know, I mean, if you look at how people describe, say, a demon, it's not that far away from how people would describe an alien. So, who's to say that these kind of entities, these demonic entities that people describe hundreds and hundreds of years ago, aren't the same things that we're just using a different terminology for today? You know, I think there's a strong possibility.
Yeah.
And I think that when we come to disclosure,
yeah,
they might already know this. And sorry, Les, I know you got that question there, but they might, you know, some people in power might already know this. And don't we? We're not going to go deep into this, but don't we see that we hear about people in power going down extremely dark routes to gain that avenues to gain that power, and they talk about it in all walks of life and all kind of genres of political power and other things. So yeah. Keith Ladd,
would you ever consider doing a live truth proof episode from the cliffs at Bempton? We've talked about it continuously, Keith, and I don't see why it cannot be a goer. It's the only problem we have. We don't have consistent internet connection, so we'd have to, and anybody who knows about this would know when I talk about, we'd probably have to have a bonded system where it's 2 or 3 networks together so that the stream goes out on the other 2 if one of them actually drops down. So yeah, it's definitely worth considering, and we'll consider it.
Yeah, and somebody called at my home in last week and had a coffee and a natter, and he's got quite a bit of land on cliff tops, and he's given me permission. Well, I'm just looking. I'm going to go next week to see whether it's possible to get a vehicle up there, which would make it a lot easier because it's a little bit further to walk with gear where this acreage is. Now, if I can get a vehicle up there without breaking springs or getting it stuck, we'll start using that area because I've got his 100% permission to just be there whenever I want, which is good.
I'll put this one on the screen, but I think I might have seen this, but Rob Hudson is asking, did anyone see Mr. Balance Channy's abductee video?
No, I didn't. No. So I don't know what that...
I can't remember it now, Paul, but I may or may not have seen it, but anybody who wants to put anything in the chat about that one? Or Rob himself adding more to that?
Yeah.
Reverend is asking, why do you think you can see a satellite out in space that are no bigger than a car, but you can't see a jumbo jet at 20,000 feet?
Now we're being tricked. You make a good point, don't you?
Illusions, that's
it's nuts, isn't it? Why can I see craters on moon with my P900 camera? You know, and I can look onto horizon 17 miles away and I can't read name on the side of a ship.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I know a crater's going to be miles, but you can see details. I kind of get what you're saying there, Rev.
Yeah, well, you can see the Starlink satellite. You can see the what they call it, the other space station, can't you? But they've got the sun reflected, haven't they? Whatever, they're not very high up there, are they, Paul? Those.
No, but I think where Rev's going with this is, we're actually looking into vastness and miles into space, and we can see this. I know you're saying that they're reflecting off sun, but we can see satellites. But I don't know. I know where he's coming from with it, and it's a deep one. We've talked about it.
Yeah, we have, haven't we? That's an enigma. I think they call that an enigma, Paul. Edward Empton is good evening, both. Really enjoy your outputs. Do you receive any interesting phenomena accounts from Lincolnshire?
I will have done, Edward. I don't think I've got out off top of my head, but I mean, it's going to be there, isn't it? And I take it that that's your location, and if you've got any information you want to share, likewise, if you've got an incredible story like we've just said, we'll put it out there.
Yeah.
Come on and tell us.
Yeah, I remember reading some newspaper reports of some UFO or lights saying around the M180, which is the main motorway runs from Grimsby up to the A1.
We're all chasing lights, aren't we? Everything's lights, isn't it? It's. I know people do talk about seeing landed craft and structured craft, but jumping every week, I talk about that thing I saw with Lee Haywood because that's the impression it's left on me. But it was a huge sphere of amber light in field. But there you go. We're chasing lights.
Reverend, did you see the Trident nuke missile test that crashed alien interference? Maybe.
Well, I don't know, but it didn't put a good message out to whatever message they want to put out. Rev, did it? You know, or is it a double bluff? Is it? How do you look at it? Because it looked abysmal, didn't it, when it sort of launched itself into air and then it didn't land far from submarine, did it? So we know capability or whatever it's designed to do is terrifying, isn't it? Truly terrifying. So maybe we shouldn't be laughing, but alien interference, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. I didn't see it, Rev, so I really can't comment on that one. But Paul Craig, evening, gents. Do you think Dogman werewolves just want to be left alone? Yeah, I think you've got something in there, Paul. Do you want to run with
that? Well, yeah, I mean, it could be that. But if they want to be left alone, then when we did Wolflands, why would it come to window of a farmhouse and look at somebody? If it wanted curiosity, you could say, couldn't you? If it wanted to be left alone and them lads in that ravine, why did it stand looking at them for hours? You know what I mean? It's easy to be left alone, isn't it? You know, the hunter in the forest in America, why do they step out onto the path and make themselves visible? Or when people are camping in forests deep in night, backwoods in America or in UK, and suddenly these things start smashing about if they want to be left alone. I mean, Jason, who gave his account from Warncliffe Woods in Sheffield, whatever it was that interacted with them, literally picked one of their friends up by the leg. You know, so that's not something that wants to be left alone. But Paul, I take on board what you're saying, and but I don't think they're here in physical sense all the time. So I don't know. There's no right or wrong answer there, Paul. Yeah, Paul Craig. I'm going to call you Craig then. Sorry.
Okay, so while I remember, Paul, we're just going to add this to the stage, and we talked about it at the top of the show. You are speaking at the Awakening conference in 31st of August, and it's got a location of 30th and the 31st.
Yeah. So that'll be Friday and Saturday.
So location of Bolton Albert Hall, Albert Halls, but that location may change. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but I should imagine it'll be there, won't it? So that's what it's saying on banner. So yeah, high strangeness. So I think what I talked about last week could have fitted just same because I was talking about all the strange things, but there's no end to it. You know, talking to Chris Turner, but these people, Barry Fitzgerald, Trey Hudson. I mean, that's somebody we need back on. Trey Hudson to tell us any updates on the area that he's researching or working in called the Meadow Project. And Barry Fitzgerald's absolutely fascinating, as is everybody else. If I'm being truthful and no disrespect to Nick Kyle, I don't know what Nick Kyle talks about. So, you know, I don't know about that. But other guys have been involved in skinwalker research, haven't they? So
yeah,
we shall see how that one pans out.
Okay, I'm going to looking at the time now, and what was it? 11 minutes ago. Drew Watson. Hi, Paul and Les. Thank you for putting my encounter out. If possible, I'd like to clarify a couple of things people have said in the comments in the near future.
Yeah, please do, Drew. We can have another conversation, and that'd be great. And once again, I'm not going to put you on spot, Drew, but you're welcome to come and share that experience because nobody can tell it better than the person who's experienced it, in my opinion. Even if there's pauses and little stops in between, but you were there, I weren't, and how incredible, and how absolutely. When you were telling me, you painted the picture, you brought it to life. And if anybody in chat hasn't listened to this, to me retelling Drew's encounter, please go to Truth Proof channel, when your time allows, and have a look with I came face to face with a monster, because I think, quite honestly, mate, that's what you did. Frightening.
Andy is in the chat tonight, and when you was talking about the height of the
I knew you'd be listening,
combine
Andy.
8 to 10 foot off the ground is the cab of a combine.
Yeah, and no doubt you'll be busy in fields in not too distant future, mate. So Andy Rossi's been on the Ghost Whisperer. So if we want more strange tales of ghostly hauntings, then we need Andy back on, don't we?
Definitely.
But, yeah. And it doesn't all have to be dark, does it? If people have got any stories where some kind of interaction, some kind of encounter has actually brought some euphoric experience to your life, tell us about it. Why not? I mean, we talked about that old lady whose son had that catastrophic accident a few weeks ago. I had it years ago, but we talked about it, and she claimed that she saw an angel, and it stood with its back to her. And I think I was looking for a picture. I need to find it for you guys, because she did a drawing for it, and it told her in her mind that it couldn't let her see her. If she looked into its eyes, it'd be too much for her. But that ended up absolutely fabulous. She claims that that's the sort of turning point, and everything started to come good in for her son and their lives again. So yeah.
Tina, Paul, has there been any activity around Farlingdale's listening station recently?
Not that I know of, and we've got a guy, Jeremy, who comes down to Bempton, who lives at Filingthorpe, which is very close, and I'm sure he would know. And obviously he drives down there, he drives up there most days, to and from work. But there's been lots of activity around that area over years, and they were even allegedly a big cat knocked down, a beige one as well, funnily enough, as we're talking about big cats. And Whitby Gazette ran an article on it a few years ago. I remember telling somebody about it, and then they got in paper with it. And that were a beige big cat that had been knocked down, and I think it were taken on to Filingdales in the bucket of a JCB. And I don't know what happened to it after that. But, yeah. And UFO activity as well.
Yeah, Kim King, whatever it is, it's interesting to realise they seem to know your very thoughts during an encounter. So,
yeah,
and probably Broxer boys. And, yeah.
Yeah, probably before and after an encounter as well, Kim. I know it's pure speculation, but it makes you wonder if our lives are mapped out, which is frightening, isn't it? Because we wouldn't want to know, would we? I know people go to fortune tellers and go to try and find out what's going to happen in future, but do we really want to know? It's just, we talked about synchronicities at the conference and different things that seem to occur in conjunction with other things. There's a synchronicity in interview that we did with Robbie that he talks about, which is just uncanny. And these things can't just, I don't know, it's almost like it's just too perfect.
Everything seems to meld together, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Right then, we've got Jackson Hilsey. Paul, remember Barbara had a strange experience that evening, mate?
I do, yeah, I do. I don't know how deep you wanted me to talk about that, Jack. And we're getting a listener from Brazil here tonight. That's great. And yes, a strange experience where something appeared and in a living room. So that's odd. And Bob Brown. I'm not going away from Jack's. I am, because I just don't know how deep you want me to go with Jack. But Bob Brown, who knows Jack as well and Barbara, he's got a mirror in front of him, and he can see a picture on the wall at the back of him. And it's a picture of a landscape, I think, just above his head. And he's sat watching TV, and he can see the mirror, and he's looking into the mirror, and he claims he could see an alien's head in picture. Not painted on, almost just there. And he don't drink and he doesn't smoke anything. So once again, Bob's either lying or he's seen it, and he always seems pretty level to me. And in view of things that's happened in this property, and he lives in top flat, I wouldn't rule out. So yeah, thanks for that, Jack.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes, fair enough. Go on.
All right.
Jack actually got some incredible UFO footage whilst he were in Brazil last time. And that might be worth running through again, actually. But I know he's got his camera out there now, so he's trying.
That's on the Truth Proof channel. So you'd probably have to do a search for that, yeah. And is Martin Grove's appearance on the horizon? As I just said a little bit earlier, that I reached out to him a couple of weeks ago. I haven't heard anything back, but as Paul suggested to me, he could be actually ill, so we don't know.
We'd like to get him on. We talked about that earlier, Carl. Good to see you last week, and your wife as well. And this is Carl who's just put the question in. He was on the cliff tops that night with me and Ian and Pete. I don't know if Pete were on. I think he were. I'm not sure. I think so. When this monster storm, just literally, after we'd seen these weird flashes of light in the sky, which I managed to get on film, which were probably part of the storm, people, but it was a calm night up until this storm hit. And we've talked about it loads of times. I'd just love to know wind speed that night, because it was blowing us, literally blowing us. We couldn't stop moving. So Carl were there as well. I think you'll be able to agree that I've never been in weather like that before. But yeah, not unexplained phenomena, but weather, harsh weather.
Billy GW, did you see the famous ghost of the Bolton venue, Paul?
No, I didn't. But I didn't, Billy. But I tell you what, just out of interest, anybody who was at Bolton last week, or anybody who listens to this afterwards, 2 people came to me and said when I was doing my talk, they saw a black shadow, and the 2 people that came, I don't think they knew each other, pass on stage, because I did speak to Chris Turner and say, just when you're looking at film, just have a look. I never saw anything, but interesting. And I think they said it passed in front. So if anybody did see anything like that, just get back to us.
Good.
And look at the time.
Yeah, time's flew by, and we definitely have to go at the top of the hour. Paul, have you got a website where people can buy any merchandise, books, DVDs, or anything?
Well, yeah, we've got the Wolfland DVDs, which you can get on truthproof.uk. That's my website. Plus the books. It's the only place you get them on eBay as well, the books. You can get, there's 5 books. If you want the Kindle versions, they're on Amazon. And if you want to look at Wolflands, it's on Amazon Prime and can be downloaded and viewed on Amazon Prime. And it's still fairly popular from what we can see. And yeah, are we proud of it? Oh, yeah. So I never thought I'd make a film, people. So there you go.
Yes. And that's all good. That's I think we are practically out of time for another live stream.
Yeah,
we'll be back on Thursday, won't we?
We'll be back Thursday, yeah. And for the people that just think, oh well, we could have done an extra 10 minutes or half an hour. Les does have to go somewhere. That's why we're away sharp on a Sunday night.
I'd love to do 3 hours with all you guys in the chat, but unfortunately I can't.
It's great because it's so easy. It's just easy. Let's face it. It's great. You've got your questions. It's interaction. But I want to get some of you people on screen telling the people that you're with now what your experiences and encounters. And Alison, thanks so much for doing moderating for us, and appreciate it.
Yeah, and by the way, people, please share. Please press like even. And do what you got to do on YouTube to push this channel even further than what it is now. The channel is growing, and we'd like it to grow even further.
Yeah, we hardly ever say it. We probably don't say it enough because I know a lot of channels are pushing it all time, and that's not knocking them. I mean, we should be doing it. If you've not subscribed to Truth Proof, it's free. It doesn't cost out. Just press subscribe and let's see if we can just build channel up a little bit, and that'd be great. Appreciate your support. Thank you.
Yeah, and I got to thank Karen Bierman and Jojo for the monetary contributions tonight. Great, helps the channel immensely. Thanks for that, because we know how tough it is these days to actually contribute. But thank you all the same.
Yeah.
So
Appreciate
on that note, we're going to say goodbye, aren't we, Paul?
Yeah. Thank you very much, and see you Thursday.
We'll see you Thursday.